Here we go.
All right, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Now, I'm plugged into my car currently, so I don't know. Just let me know how my mic check is.
You sound fine as far as I can tell. Yeah.
Okay. So, now, the way it goes is, as you see, it says open talk, and now you can change that to the topic that you want to use. Now, the most inflammatory title, the better. If you want people to just pop in.
Yeah.
But or you can just leave it. If you leave it with nothing, you're not going to get that much engagement. But if you put something that might rile somebody up, so it's totally up to you. I'm just telling you how the game works.
Well, are you saying? But do you have the change option as well, or just I?
We both have the option.
Oh, okay.
We both have.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the N word. Of course, the N meaning nice. We're only going to talk about nice things, so we can do some clickbait.
Might not work. I don't know if I'll talk about next.
All right. Well, this is your show. I'm just here living in it.
Well, I mean, I don't know where to start. You're new to the Stereo app, and I want to just tell you I have no clue what the Stereo app's endgame is. But it is a place where you can come, and you've always wanted to do this. So Curtis and I have done a podcast, and Curtis wants to hear all voices, all opinions. He doesn't like to live in an echo chamber.
Yes, you know me so well. And I know the reason you're saying all this is only so that I don't waste time saying them. Because I say them every single time.
But so this...
Go ahead.
So this app, gives Curtis the opportunity to not just talk. So a lot of times me and Curtis just talk, and we're like, man, we wish somebody else would, pipe in and say whatever they have to say. We don't really care. We don't want to censor anybody. And so again, there's a talk-in button where someone can press the button and they can hold it anywhere from a second to 60-second comments. And I think as a host, you can delete the comment if you're not happy with it. And a lot of times, it's different. Some people pop in to say hello to their friends. Some people just get on there to troll. You never know what you're going to get. So until we actually pick a topic and start talking, it's not going to really mean anything. But we haven't talked.
I have a question.
Sure.
What is the little mic at the top? Because you can hear me, but the mic icon at the top of this app is actually showing it's disabled, has the line through it. So
that's I would believe that's your mute button. So if you had to go to the bathroom, or if I went into the store right now and bought 10,000 energy drinks, you could keep.
Yeah, that's it. I'm an idiot because I just thought the line, on the iPhone, I believe, when it's muted, the line goes through it, and when it's unmuted, there's no line. But I just realized whether this is muted or not, there's a line through it, but it's highlighted. So it's just a different icon, sort of legend. See, there's so many things to learn here. I like to wait at least a week. It's like television. I like to watch our movies, or really television shows, for them to be canceled, because I don't want to invest emotionally in anything, and it's going to go. And you are such a tester of new things. You're like, TikTok, join TikTok. And then the government's like, we're going to shut this down, right? So I like to wait a month or two to see if anything sort of takes traction. But I will say Stereo is probably a better, iteration of this app than when it was called Mono. Get Mono. I'm just being ridiculous, but I just going through the growing pains of learning this app, because even when
you're going to need rim shots. You're going to need rim shots with your bad jokes.
I'm just talking to you. But when I first signed up, I had to go through this. I knew nothing about this app, so I'm literally learning this in real time. But I had to create my avatar, and of course it looks nothing like me, by the way. But I was so busy, I wanted to get through it, so I was just like click, right? So I'm not even sure who I look like, but it's not me. So there's a bit of deception. They should maybe save that. later in the process, because the first thing from my recollection was just, here, create your face. I'm like, I don't got time to adjust my nose and perfect my look. I just created some, random Asian guy in Bangladesh. So I'm
Sounds
just
like
set up.
OCD over there. I think the avatar again, I think is just, I think the beauty of stereo and what people like about stereo so far is, I don't want to say anonymity, but the fact that it's not based on your looks. So
Right.
It's not going to be a streaming app. It's going to be a talking app only. People can engage. The avatar seems childish to me, but I think people enjoy changing their avatar. I'm an older man, so it doesn't mean anything to me. People seem to enjoy the changing of the avatar as
I mean, it might seem gimmicky, but at the same time, it makes sense because, hideous people have opinions too. But we went through that whole bitstrip phase and Facebook, and so it's very common to do it. I think they're actually using it in a more less gimmicky way, and for the reasons you said, because it offers a level of anonymity. And there's nothing to say that you have to create your avatar to look like you.
That's right, sir.
This could be abused, in the worst case scenario, but at the same time, it could also provide cover, right? I hope no one recognizes that I'm actually Julian Assange. But anyway, go on.
So I changed the topic to progressive voices.
Oh, jeez. I hate progressive. I hate the word progressive.
Well, maybe we could change it again. What do you like? What's your title?
You're the host. I'm just simply voicing my anonymous opinion. And you know all the reasons why.
I wrote progressive voices. I hate titles. So that makes more sense. So what's the more left-leaning progressive, let's save the poor type of people like Lee Camp and Ted Alexandro and Jimmy Dore, and I know there's other favorites that I have, but they are starting to team up, and they have been talking to each other, so that's a plus.
How's that a plus? You're saying all the progressive voices are teaming up? That's a horrible thing.
I think it's good in that they need to understand that they sort of have to work together to maybe create a network or have a cross promotion to get more. So
it's a great topic. What you're talking about is a great topic, but I'm just disagreeing with their actual action, because I've not seen any sort of benefit of consensus. Consensus means, hey, what's the best music? What's the top 10 music of what we're going to listen to? And you get the top 10 pop 40 list, right? What's the best movie out there? And so you have all these little documentaries and Sundance and all these things and all these highbrow, but then you also have, fun-loving popcorn big movies. But it really depends on who's deciding, who's the decider. When you get any sort of decider, you can get a Biden. You can get the Grammys. You can get the Oscars. Oscars, so what? So when a bunch of progressive voices with varied sort of left-leaning opinions, or even on the right, whatever, when they come together, you end up with, okay, now we have Democrats, part 2, right? So I think part of the edge of being progressive, which I hate that word, is the independence in the voice. And when you start aligning, all of a sudden you're like Nick Brana and People's Party, whatever. Who knows what's going on, right? And so there's a danger in that. Let me give you an example. What's that app? The Twitter app that the right are using. They created their own app, sort of. Begins with a P, and they all. Maybe you don't know about this, but I'm in
the echo chamber.
Oh well, okay. Well, there's after Twitter started labeling nonsense on Twitter, whether it's from Trump or anybody else, they would say this is not factually correct. This is this. This is this. This is rigged. They started labeling Trump's tweets and other people, but Trump gets all the attention, saying what he just said basically is factually incorrect, yada yada yada. They pull all these CEOs, on a Senate panel, and they're like, "Why did you censor us?" And, all this sort of nonsense, right? So Twitter right Twitter, I don't know what you call it, Black Twitter, whatever. Right Twitter have been encouraged to exit Twitter and go to this competing app. It begins with a P, patrol, something. And
anybody, or two listeners, or no, down to one listener. If anybody knows the name of it, please tell us. I don't know I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
Oh, well, it's a Twitter app. I could Google it really quick, but anyway, they all flocked to this app, so that they can speak more freely. What is this? I gotta see what this was.
Voice message. Just hold on one second. So this is how. So that thing popped up. Now we have a message to play. So that I can fucking interrupt your rambling. Here we go.
Okay, go on.
I think it's called Parler.
Yeah. Oh, it's called Parler. Awesome. That's it. I love that feature. Okay, I didn't know what it was, but I love it. And so it's called Parler. That's exactly. Thank you, anonymous listener. So they all flock to this app called Parler, and it's supposed to be open to everyone, but it's considered right-leaning. Okay, and just as Twitter is considered left-leaning. True or false? I mean, anyone can tweet anything on Twitter or Facebook or YouTube, whatever. So that's a sort of a false narrative. What they're really saying is more left-leaning people might be using Twitter, but that doesn't forbade anyone. But they're saying they're limiting and censoring right voices, so they all have flocked, all, of course, in quotes, have flocked to Parler. Now, here's where the story gets interesting. Here's my point about any sort of consensus, and this is my non-partisan view, all right, or considered bipartisan, that it's all nonsense on both the left and the right. So the right conservative market is now using Parler, and they've been telling all these people to, hey, you know what? These highly contested elections in Georgia, et cetera, which will define or decide whether or not the left takes control of the Senate, et cetera. The Parler people themselves are like, we're going to boycott, because these places limit our voice, they censor us, all these elections are rigged. Do not vote. We will not vote in Georgia. We will not vote. And I'm thinking, okay, well, this sounds sort of crazy. You guys really want to win this to make sure the left doesn't take over, right? But you're telling your own community of right conservative leaning people to not vote. So everybody's like on the left, oh, these people are crazy. I hope they all follow through. I hope they all do this. And I go, whoa. Yeah, that would benefit you if they don't vote for their own interests. But guess what? The left does this too. Consistently, we wear it as a badge. Do not vote in the election. Why? Because Biden is a corporate clone. He's a corporate. Okay, of course he is. If you vote, you're just contributing to the problem. I voted for Jill Stein in 2016, right? F the two-party system. We're going to tear it all down, but I did it with a vote. And my problem is, so the right is doing the exact sort of insanity that the left is doing. And I say this not from a high and mighty position. Again, I voted for Jill Stein in 2016 because it was a protest vote. I was like, I'm not voting for Hillary Clinton because I'm some, black person on the left. I'm a Democrat. I'm not a Democrat. But I'm not a progressive either. In 2016, I found the group that spoke to me, and I voted accordingly. A big, Bernie bro supporter, etc. I went through that whole process. The difference is, here's where I diverge from progressives, even though I have progressive-minded ideals. 2016, I wanted to tear down the system. I said, we need to wake these people up. The best way for them to do it is to see a Trump in his full glory and then become woke. Okay? So fast forward 4 years, what happened? What is the difference? I have 4 years of new information. Just like I went to Christian school as a kid, and I had years of new information, and I said, wait, this doesn't make any sense to me. I'm going to be an atheist. Ooh, controversy. Okay, the difference between me and my science-based mind is that I get new information and I apply it. If I get stuck in anything, then progressives will become like Democrats. Republicans will just become Republicans. You get stuck to a group in the same way that progressives all get together. They start to define what it means to be progressive. You have to do this. You have to do this. You have to do that. So 2016 happened. 4 years later, I have new information that people did not wake up. How do I know this? Because Bernie breezed through. Bernie was killing it. Bernie has made changes. People talk about minimum wage and unions and all these different things like they've always been there. Free college, free healthcare, acting like this is something they've always talked about, agreed with or debated. But they are now talking about it for one reason and one reason only, because Bernie Sanders came through. So he starts breezing through this election. The Democrats go shut him down again, whether you believe big conspiracy or it was rigged or just people didn't wake the F up. It doesn't matter. He rose. He was saying all of his salient points. People were talking about the same things that he's been talking about for 1,000 years. And then they come in, have secret meetings with Obama and shut him down. I'm going to drop out. I'm going to drop out. I'm going to drop out and nominate Biden. Kamala's like, oh, it looks like a prison video. Kamala Harris. I support Biden, even though I said that he was a horrible person and he was racist and all these things and da-da-da-da-da. They do all this and they shut Bernie down. Biden rises up, the same old moderate, calm, Democratic voice. I get it. I get why they did it. The point is they shut Bernie down. So the takeaway from this is nothing partisan. The takeaway is that the people did not wake the F up. The Democrats didn't change. The people on the left didn't change. They still vowed and went the same old Hillary Clinton type male version of her. Okay, so they're not ready. So what do? Do I go, what does Lee Camp say? What do the progressives say? No, I have 4 years of new information. The left did not wake up. They will not wake up. I can give them another 4 years of Biden. I can give them another 8 years. They're not going to wake up. The only benefit is time and change and older people dying, younger people rising up going, I've always had black friends. I've always had gay friends. Well, I would never even think against this. And they're becoming politicians. The AOC vote, right? The AOCs are coming up. And so it's just a natural evolution of positive change, right? Younger hold these sort of views. My final point is just that. I have 4 years of new information now. That's why I voted for Biden this time, not thinking he's a godsend, not voting blue, no matter who. It's just what I did in 2016 with the Jill Stein, I'm not going to repeat because that's what a progressive's supposed to do. And I'm not going to sit around and go, I'm not going to vote because I'm going to tear down the system. I'm not voting for third party. I have new information, right? And so that's why I voted for Biden. That's why the left is just like the right, and they're telling people do not vote. The whole thing's rigged. So that's my whole rant.
We got a message. I hope it tells you to shut the fuck up. Here's the message. Here we go.
Comedy vampire, I always love your comedy.
Oh yeah, so that's my other partner, Curtis. If you fucking get out of line, which you are, that's my other co-host. You missed my point. My point is this, and you know this to be true, right? That any progressive entertainer is at risk for being progressive. And I think sometimes that's why they're not progressive. So like a Ted Alexandro, who you may or may not know, who I thought always had the gift of a Lee Camp or a gift of Jimmy Dore. I guess there's other people we can talk about, Jank and the Young Turks. I'm trying to think of people that I'm missing. I know I'm missing other people out there that, I know there's at least two or more that get into progressive entertainment, progressive politics. So when they finally start talking, at least maybe they can support each other in building each other's audiences, because they are being, I believe, my conspiracy is that the algorithms count them out, and that they are constantly being the powers that be do not allow progressive voices to gain any traction, and that's what we've always talked about. So this app Stereo allows you, for the time being, for right now, until someone fucking buys this app or whatever, it allows you to put on a show, develop listeners, and maybe develop a following. But I guarantee you, when I say words like Lee Camp and Jimmy Dore and Ted Alexandro, nobody knows who these guys are, and that's problematic. And my point was, they don't know who these people are because the powers that be will not allow it. And whenever I get onto Stereo and I talk with Super High Man or other people, I'm just like, enjoy this for what it is for this moment, because it's not going to fucking last. So there's a lot of chicanery, shenanigans on here. No one really tells the truth of how they get on here, who's paying them. Right now it's Jeff Ross and Randy Sklar and Adam Carolla being dragged onto this app, but progressive voices and progressive anything on this app it's mostly about sex. So if you hear progressive talk, you're going to hear a lot of people, getting here and trying to be, because again, people love to hear people talking about sex. It always works. Let me play this message.
Comedy Vampire, would you say that Democrats are on the right or the left?
I think they're centrists mostly. That's the problem, right?
Yeah,
So,
I would agree. Right.
Democrats are centrists. It's such a again,
we see the word. Go ahead.
Well, because we come from another fucking group, right? So me and Curtis came from a group called Real Progressives, and they've been trying to build something for 4 years with no traction. I mean, we've seen it in real time how hard it is. So centrists, and in our minds, are almost like murderers. They're murdering the poor. They're smart. They're smarter than I. They know the numbers. They know how the problem is solved. How could Nancy Pelosi all of a sudden decide that the package is not big enough? It's too big, right? And they got to cut it back down to $900 billion over the whatever the numbers are. It doesn't fucking matter.
Well, that's because Biden. Well, Biden said, "Hey, we need to lower our expectations." So she's following the leader. Here's my point, though. I hate to talk about Dems and Republicans in these silos. There's no difference. Their method of madness is the same. All right. But if people are on the left, they're like, "Yeah, Pelosi, we understand you." But if someone's following Trump's nonsense, and they're not conceding the election because they fear retribution or whatever. How is that nonsense any different, better, than the rights? It's the same playbook. The problem is the label. This is why I don't like progressive, because we go Democrat, Republican, everybody on TV, across the street, everyone who's not you, anyone who's not listening, your neighbor, the person across the street, the person you bump into at the store. They're going, "Oh, do you hear what the Republicans did?" They're not in the weeds.
But unfortunately, in this country, right, you have to have the People's Party, the Working People's Party, the Labor Party. You're going to have to come up with some sort of party name, correct? No, so it's problematic again. I mean, you have to come up with a name.
The ruling class are centrists. Okay, call them centrist Republicans or right of center. The right of center is just the flip side of the coin of left of center, right? Right up. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead.
We got 4 messages. Let's play one.
Oh, cool.
Comedy Vampire, I have it on good authority that you were a stone cold Republican. Is this true?
I mean, I come from my parents were probably stone cold Republicans. They probably voted on one issue, abortion. They were they were religious. So I was raised in a Republican household, diehard, and again, I don't know if it was spoken about. You were supposed to vote Republican. You understood. They took us to church. You went to Sunday school or Thursday school, whatever the fucking school it was. You were indoctrinated, and they hoped they were creating Republicans, and they created fucking
on the true Sabbath. What?
Was that what you say?
I was like, let's be respectful on the true Sabbath.
My mom wanted me to be
Sabbath.
my mom wanted me to be a priest, and I became probably the biggest sinner in the house. I think I'm competing with my little brother for the biggest sinner in the house.
Well,
so,
not really true. Only a real priest would be more of a sinner than you.
That's true. You make a good point. Here we go.
Here we go.
Democrats are definitely center right. Like, they seriously are center right.
Exactly.
Bernie Sanders is a centrist. He's not even a full leftist. He is a centrist. The Democratic Party is center right. We've never had anything to the center or to the left in this country.
He makes a good point. Yeah, he makes a good point. That's what I was trying to say, but I was butchering the words, is that when you look at the Democrats, they're center right. They're center right. But when you look at the ruling class, at least before the Trump effect, look at the package you were just referencing, the stimulus thing. It's all a bunch of these centrist Republicans, because they go and what is Biden? But everything Biden says is basically like, okay, we'll do a little for you lefters. But let's, remember, right are not enemy and all this kind of stuff. We need to talk across the aisle.
Let me give you a little background on Super High Man. So Super High Man is from Missouri, and obviously from the voice, he's a big weed smoker. And Curtis, that just now this week, the House of Representatives passed the decriminalization of marijuana bill, and I'm sure you also know that I don't think any Republicans voted for that bill. I don't think. If it was, it was like five Republicans.
Like
it was ridiculously low. Now, when it goes to the Senate, it will not be passed. Now, as far as Bernie's concerned, correct. I think in 2016, I think Bernie went as left as he possibly could go. Did he pull himself back in? Am I disappointed? Yeah. And again, that's how we started Super High Man. My feeling is, it's almost unsafe to be progressive to me. I almost feel like for Bernie, when he was running, it's almost not a great idea, because I think if you do get traction, they're going to, again, another conspiracy, I think they might take you out. And like you started with, when you went off, me and you both know that 2 elections in a row, it wasn't conspiracy. It actually happened. They were conspiring in 2016 against Bernie Sanders, and this time they completely kneecapped him. Now, I'm going to argue back and forth that maybe that's not such a bad idea, because maybe Joe Biden only wins Pennsylvania. Maybe Bernie can't beat a Trump. I don't know. I'm not even. How can I make that? Yeah. Especially I think Biden had a better chance with the absentee ballots.
Absolutely, but that's my point. That's my point. The people did not wake up. Not after. This is not information I'm gathering after the election. I gathered it before. That's why I voted for Biden, who I do not think is some godsend at all. I disagree with his sort of yada yada yada. But here's the thing: people confuse their personal beliefs with reality. I agree with what you're saying. I'm like Bernie, blah 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 blah. Awesome. Okay. But do I suddenly become a cartoon idiot and go, you know what? The people aren't awake, but they're really going to vote for him too and everything else. You can say conspiracy and all this stuff, but let's talk in the reality of conspiracy. Obama's meeting with these people and they all drop out at the same time and they're making deals. Biden says, look, we'll adopt part of your platform, Bernie, if you just, shut the fuck up. And hey, Kamala, guess what? You're my biggest critic, but hey, I'm going to put black people and women. You're definitely in the running to be my VP. So she comes out, she does a prison video with sideways video, horrible light. Is like, yeah, I support Biden. But everybody dropped out on the same day, basically. And what part of the country do you think? What percentage of the country do you think even cares or recognizes the fact that happens? I bet it's less than 30%. Absolutely.
So,
but we know this because Biden. It worked. Biden comes up. People are like, Bernie. So I get it. The corporations, Wall Street, all these things. They do not want a Bernie. the past presidents, the left,
Now,
the Democrats.
I don't want to put words in his mouth, but Super High Man might be a libertarian. So again, Bernie Sanders might be someone he's afraid of because he's going to raise his taxes to pay for all his programs. I'm not sure again what makes people fearful of progressives and how it makes people the fact that, oh my God, we may have to pay a little bit more so we all have universal health care and we all have universal Medicare. We get into those weird areas. And again,
yeah, well, they don't really think. I'm not saying that from I think, and they don't. I'm saying people aren't really afraid of progressives. Only progressives are afraid of other progressives because progressives are the only ones who know other progressives.
Well, I think they're afraid of their wallet and taxes, and they think
it's more.
I think that's what they're sold.
It's more what they're sold. Well, you're right. I don't disagree with you at all. My point is, this whole concept of progressive is not really something they're aware of. Only progressives are. They're very basic. They watch the news at 5, 6, whatever. They catch snippets here. If they're watching Fox, they're just listening to whatever Fox says. They're maybe reading newspapers, but doubtful. They're just sort of floating in the wind and getting general information when they go have a beer, go to the party, maybe bump into people at work. They're not in the nitty gritty. So they have a general consensus of progressives. All they know is that, oh, he's that guy, and some people. I guess he's with the kids. The kids really like him. I think white guys really like him. But here's Biden. I know Biden. He's the VP. Look at his nice suit, and he's look at that old guy. He's a folksy child.
By the way, I don't know if we talked about this, but I wrote in Bernie Sanders. All right, let me play another message.
Please.
If I didn't have a D&D game to get ready for, I would stick around for a little bit longer. I'm probably going to stick around for about another 15 minutes.
I don't know if this is a real person or a caricature of weed smoking D&D playing people.
He's very eccentric. He has a very eccentric life.
That's great. Yeah, if he utters the word "dude," then I'm just saying it's a caricature.
I think he's a 36-year-old D&D playing, which would make sense. Like, I think D&D must be really cool if you're high. I mean, I'm not so aware of the feeling of being high, but sitting around in a room playing D&D while you're getting high sounds like that's the way the game is supposed to be played.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I have no idea. I barely understand weed and how it feels.
I don't understand it. Yeah.
Here's another message.
Gummy Vampire, what's your political alignment?
See, you were Republican.
See, he asked that question, and now when I answer it, Curtis is going to go ballistic. But I describe myself as a progressive independent.
I don't mind you describing yourself that way. I'm talking about the larger definition of grouping people by these labels, which sounds so trite, right? Any sort of reasonable, critical thinking person can run around and be like, you know what? I just don't think labels really define me. Okay, yeah. So it's not a brilliant Einsteinian statement, but it's so impactful. When you say you're progressive independent, that's how you define yourself. Great. Have at it. Call yourself a rabbit god for all I care. The problem is, when you say progressive independent to someone else, they have a different interpretation of that label, especially if they're opposing you. Oh, you're a snowflake, aren't you? Aren't you? I'm a black male, all right? So I'm a Democrat. I'm Baptist. I go to church I don't do any of these things. Okay, but my label is there's a black dude. Okay, so the problem is not in the self-identification. The problem is in sort of the view and the belief associated with that group that everyone else has. Okay, and that's the problem. If I was a good cop, I'm a shit. Doesn't matter if I'm black. I'm shooting dogs and shooting black people and helping the white guy choke people. You don't know me. So I'm not a cop, right? So that's what I'm saying.
Interesting you just said that, because the last guy who left a message, he is a cop from Missouri. So
let's hear it.
Yep. Let's hear
You're doing a wonderful time managing the messages, by the way.
I got to keep you in control, you raving maniac.
No,
I'm supposed to be the raving. I'm supposed to be the raving maniac.
Progressivism throughout history has led to awful things, but if people were if there was more libertarians, I think the world would be a better place.
See, but then when he says the word libertarian, then that gets my back up.
But it doesn't mean anything. See, that's what I'm saying. Libertarian means only something to other libertarians. So that tells me nothing about what he believes. I have to go Google, research it, and then I have to go, how does that apply to him? Do you agree with 110% of whatever libertarian means?
It makes my head explode. It makes my head explode because he's a cop who believes in libertarianism.
It doesn't make any sense.
Meanwhile, he's in a socialist department, and then we're going to have that argument. But
we got to get rid of these damn labels, man. We got to get. We're stuck in the 80s. Guess what? I'm a Catholic priest. I'm a pastor. I'm a who the fuck cares? I always talk about this. Are you good or are you bad? That tells me, I know what you do, but do you piddle kids? Or do you piddle kids? Are you that Black Baptist preacher conning poor people out of their money every Sunday while you go buy a plane? When you say you're a priest, you're a pastor, doesn't tell me shit. I'm a doctor. Oh, okay. So are you drugging women and raping them? Are you doing horrible surgeries? Right? Are you just in it for the money? I'm a progressive. I'm a libertarian. I'm a Republican, and I'm the president of the goddamn United States. These labels tell me nothing. I don't care if this person is a libertarian. I don't care if they're Republican, progressive, or Democrat. I want to know what they believe.
I am in the Poor People's Podcast Party. There you go. I just fucking got my label. I'm in the Poor People's Podcast DND playing party.
Why are you being redundant?
I'm just saying. I want to help poor people. I want to smoke pot, and I want to party. All right. So I know what you're saying, but it's a very again, these concepts that you're trying to relate are more difficult. You're going into this area where no one's going to be able to go with you. You're trying to drag people to this deep end of the pool, and I'm just trying to get them to care a little bit more about people in American society. So I almost feel like it's semantics, though I don't even know what that word means.
That's yeah. But we here's the problem though. It's the foundation of everything. Because just like this wonderful message leaver, he's like, I think we need to have more libertarian policies. Whether he was serious or joking, whatever. That's not the point. That's him trying to have engage in a conversation, ideally, and trying to speak across the aisle and be nice and make people okay. But that's your goal, right? But we speak in these semantical terms. Okay, that doesn't help. Well, I think we need.
But at the same time, when you say all this, and that's great, how do we? Now you're saying all these things, but I never feel like you have a solution. I mean, you certainly convolute the issues, but you never. Okay, so the issue is no more labels. So what do we do? Do we have like one of those things in Willy Wonka? We sit people on it. It tells us whether they're good or bad, and then they go down the chute. What the fuck
do the opposite?
Do?
No,
bonk.
The obvious solution. Well, you're missing the obvious solution. Stop doing that. Because even in your goal, seriously, in your goal to, whatever you said, I just want people to be a little nicer. To achieve your goal, you start going back, you and the royal you is really what I'm talking about. You start going back to these semantical grouping deviations. No, just go up to a person or go up to a group. I don't care what context you're in. And there are no groups. Hello, how do you feel? Let me give you an example, okay? You want a real world. I always talk about real world examples, but the problem is we talk in these. So there's this, my friend, I don't know, should I say her name? I'll say her first name. So you don't think I'm making somebody up and you'll know who I'm talking about. But she was part of the organization we were in, RP. Her name is Kim. And she was there with me every day. She was interviewing people, trying to get, talking to working class people, hanging out with black people, went to Philadelphia. She's a white girl. interviewing Tim Black, working with all these different people, goes to Philadelphia, 2016, is part of the charge. Bernie bro. Big influence, active member of Real Progressive, all these different things. We've hung out, we've joked, we've live streamed, we've done everything.
I'm gonna kill you if you don't get to the point.
We were in it. Okay, so she's actively progressive. Okay, people are donating to her, etc. Has a family, all these things going through. So all of these wonderful things, she's in it, right? Okay. So then a couple of weeks ago, 2 weeks ago or so, she's wearing a "Make America Great" hat. Defending all these things and showing herself in parades. So, okay, wait, what? Here's the problem. She's always been this way. She lives in a rural area of Virginia. She has 3 kids, going through a horrible divorce and back and forth drama, all these different things, been fighting, going to court, fighting the courts, battling the courts. Her opinions have not changed. Her situation has not changed. You know what changed? Her title. Well, she's running for office in her rural area, and she's talking to the people, and she's like, you know what? Has a farm with horses and animals and all these things. And she's like, oh, guess what? My people. In fact, she ran as a Republican, but when she was labeled a progressive, her whole stance was, well, my people are on the right. They're never going to elect me if I run as progressive, if I run as this, if I run as a Democrat.
So it was strategy.
She says it was strategy, but none of her opinions have changed. No, it's just the identification. She's been a Republican the whole time, but now that she's in it, she's like, oh, I support Trump. But her ideas and her beliefs got lost based upon her surrounding, her peer group.
All right, okay, I gotta play these messages. We're losing listeners. Hold on.
The reason why Bernie was off-putting is because his initial rhetoric was socialistic. Like, he literally stated he would put the state in power so they could capture the means of production. That's socialism. That's the definition. And so people were very off-put initially to Bernie because he was talking about revamping the system to be socialistic, and no one liked that. That's what was so off-putting. He was far left. He was socialistic. He was far left. He was beyond centrist. Now, as he got his ass whooped in his campaign, he started reeling it back in and gaining more traction, but initially he was a socialist and people didn't like him.
Okay, so you're muted, Curtis.
I was.
So a couple of things is, one, he can only be talking about healthcare, right? Because that's the only that this guy's saying a takeover. So if I'm trying to help him with his argument, he must be talking about universal health care with Bernie Sanders.
No, he's talking about everything. Yeah, he's talking free college.
Well, then he's being inaccurate. Well,
he's inaccurate, but only from a certain viewpoint, right? He's right on the money. If I had another viewpoint.
Right, and you're from Missouri. Sorry. But I mean, we were, again, I don't know. I would have to sit down with this guy now and say, okay, where were you in 2016? Who did you help? What campaigns were you involved with? I would have to know so much more about someone like that. But it gives you a good idea of where that person stands. And there's almost no bringing him over to Bernie. You're more likely to bring him to Trump than you are to Bernie. So that's a perfect example. Let's play another message.
Comedy Vampire, I respect anybody that writes and Bernie Sanders because of his morals, but in a year like this, if Donald Trump had won by 1 vote, would you have been okay with that? A gross over-exaggeration of a 1 vote win, but you understand what I'm asking.
Well, I live in New York City, and he was not going to lose New York City. He was not going to lose those electorals, and I knew it wasn't. Well, and again, yes, I would have to apologize. I knew that Biden was going to. I thought Biden would win by at least 5 million votes, 3 more than what Hillary had won by. He won by 7 million votes, I think, is the final count. I thought if Trump had a chance, it would be in some sort of electoral college mishmash. So I felt great about my write-in because I don't want to go to my deathbed not voting for Bernie Sanders. Right. Again, both Real Talk and Super High Man, great guys, but go against completely all of my views, all of what I hold dear to my heart. So
okay, but this begs the question. This begs the question for you, because you had leeway to vote to write in Bernie Sanders, is what I'm hearing you say. Let's put you in a swing state. That begs the question.
I would vote. Well, we did this in 2016. I would have voted for fucking Hillary, and that would have been harder for me. Yeah. Biden, it wasn't a big deal for me to vote for Biden and Kamala. I'm okay. I mean, I'm not a fan of Kamala, but I see some of the hope it gives people who may not know politics too well. But yeah, I would have voted for Hillary Clinton. I had to talk to my family about that. I told them I voted for Jill Stein. I mean, most people were mad at me too for voting for Jill Stein. Same thing, but I was like, I wasn't in a swing state. I was in New Jersey. We were way late. It wasn't going to matter. So I voted for Jill Stein. I voted for Bernie Sanders. I'm a third party guy. The system does not. This country. This system does not work, and I'm afraid
the people don't get it.
Right, it's going to take
people are
way too.
People are right. Well, I mean, people are not evil. People think people are evil. No, but they're a product of the system. They're indoctrinated since basically birth with nonsense, and so part of that nonsense is the two-party system. But we started this show by me saying that I'm not happy with progressive platforms or progressive voices or progressive entertainers or progressive comedians. I'm glad that they're trying to coalesce a little bit during this, and they're doing it solely because of COVID. They never would have done it otherwise. It's just they all have time on their fucking hands, and they're not. So, and again, I think what I would rather just a libertarian or anybody admit egocentric people.
Well, again, yes, and we've talked about that too, right? So. If you're an entertainer, it's very hard to divide the two. Am I selling merch? Am I trying to get followers? Or am I really trying to change the country?
Link in the description.
Yeah. I mean, that's a big issue. Look, I came to this app saying, I think I want to stay anonymous. The only person who knows me because I fucking slipped is Super High Man knows who I really am. I'd rather not be known and just stay on this app for a year and not be known. I think that's disingenuous too.
High Man or Super Highwayman?
I like to call him Super High Man because we had a bit going on. So I'm not sure. Let me play another message.
I believe in anarcho-capitalism. That's where I'm at.
Does he say anarcho-capitalism?
I think he said narco-capitalism. I think this might be like a rock band from the 80s, the lead singer of some 80s rock band. Hey man, I just woke up. It's like 1 to 2 or sometime in the afternoon, man. Big party last night.
Well, I don't know. Again, I don't know how often Super High Man smokes weed, but he definitely is. Again, if I was going to run on something, it would be on weed. I would run basically on weed just to get people to, look, let's get weed legalized. I'd rather just run on that for a little while and then work on the next issue. Cause I think if we can loosen that, Jenga chip, then maybe everything will fall. I'm looking to pull that one thing that falls that makes everything else fall. And I think weed is the one. I think weed could be the one. When you legalize it everywhere, then everybody starts to see, oh, this makes sense. It's profitable. Oh, we're not having a lot of issues since we legalized it, right? How many states have already legalized it? There doesn't seem to be any major giant issues over legalizing marijuana except for the speed in which the fucking legislation gets put through. As we're still waiting here in New Jersey for this to happen, they actually have to put a board in place and then they have to get all the rules in place. And it's been a couple of years now we're waiting. So once New Jersey falls, then maybe New York will fall. But again, I get in here every time and say, if you're telling me you're broke, if New York State and New York City is telling me you're broke, all they have to do is legalize marijuana. I'm not saying all they have to do, but they will get funds and they will get people out of prison and they will make life better for people in New York State, and yet they refuse to do it. So hopefully legalizing.
Why do you think the legalization is making inroads? Is it just the simple forward motion of time and progress? Is it monetary based, or is it social based? Like, oh, and we're listening to science, or just maybe a convergence of all three? What's going on?
That's actually a fucking great question. So now you'd have to back all the way back, right? You'd have to go all the way back. And I believe it was Colorado that was the one that really was starting to push medicinal, right? So they had medicinal sales, and then they went. So again, we would have to learn through a documentary in Colorado on why that finally happened. What wave came through that state. And I think obviously after that, what I recall was they were just making money hand over fist, and they couldn't put it anywhere because, again, with federal banking laws. So I think it just worked. So it was Colorado. Who knows why? Because Colorado does still feel, a little wobbly when it comes to its politics. It's not again the most progressive state. It goes back and forth with its governors.
Well, I went to Colorado to test this out because they're not just medicinal. They're recreational. One of the few, or what was it, the first, whatever. So they just it's free. Recreational is free for everybody. No car. I went there to test this out because I was like, how the hell does this work? And you make a great point, because when you talk about marijuana laws, it's so fractured. You don't know what is it. Can I walk out the door with it in one state? Super
high man would have the best reason for why weed first got legalized here in the state. What was the domino that fell? He might know that better than anybody else. Let me play another ditty.
So, libertarian in the sense of smaller federal government, larger state government, maximum rights, the whole island theory. And then, it's more like the Ayn Rand subscription to libertarianism. Like, people ought to do for themselves as much as they can, but the government ought to do what the individual cannot. So the police would be, yes, you could see it as a socialistic system capturing the means of production on violence, but like people as the individual ought not police themselves because they can't. Like, they can't form the system of justice and then enforce it. So like the police, the military, it's not a restriction of rights to have a police or a military. It's the fact of people can't go to war. Like, I as an individual can't go to war with Iraq, but the federal government can. So it's more of that subscription.
Now, the insane part of that, too, is I think both Super High Man and that guy, I'm not sure what his name is, both were in the military as well. So he went from the military, I think, to being a police officer, just to put it out there.
Get the guy's name. You got to get the guy's name.
I fucking don't know his name. But my issue is this. So for two things, right? To compete in modern society, we have to have a better education system. Universal education would just make sense. Forget about your Ayn Rand fucking bullshit. Number two is, in a pandemic, the universal healthcare would have been better.
How are you going to call it Ayn Rand bullshit?
Because it's survival of the fittest, and that's just not the way the world. And he knows better. He knows that there's addiction out there, and he knows that many people suffer in many different ways, from single parent households to disabilities. I mean, his calls are probably mostly, just domestic rather than violent. So he knows he has a better picture of the support system that we need than I do, because my job doesn't encompass that. So again, I'm only trying to twist him. I'm trying to turn him, right? I'm not trying to be mean. Let me. Yeah,
but at the same time, would you say he's more informed, more educated, more intelligent than the average person, right? Who doesn't even know he probably has a lot more life experience than I do. Let's hit another message.
Hey, Comedy Vampire, I gotta get out of here, but I gotta say that I definitely support Andrew Yang. I think he'll get you closer to the left with his platform than Bernie, just because the people are scared, and you can't change like that fear, because it's a fear based off of faith, and that's hard to shake.
And he's not wrong for a lot of reasons, right? He's not wrong because Bernie's Jewish. Wrong. He's not wrong because we've talked about this a million times, right? Bernie's Jewish, Bernie's socialist. Those are just things you're not going to pull out of people. And it's hard for us. If you live in New York City, you live in Washington, D.C.? I don't even know where you fucking live, buddy. But if you're living in those societies, you're sort of
man.
I'm in Missouri. You're in sort of a bubble. You're in sort of a bubble. We are definitely in sort of a bubble. And when you go to other states, you realize, wow, fucking, there's no way Bernie could ever win this state. It's just it's not going to happen. Whether it's religious indoctrination or it's just their politics are so right. It's undoable.
It's not that complex, though. I mean, I agree with everything you're saying, but that's coming from someone who knows stuff. You know stuff. You research stuff. You're actively involved. So you're closer to it. But people who are farther away, it's just perception, right? You know all these details, but it's the perception of Bernie. It's the perception of Andrew Yang. It's the perception.
Right. And I think it's funny. I think it's funny
right?
That's how they vote. And here's the other thing, though, right? With Andrew Yang, I was telling you, I think I'm half Yang, half Sanders this time. I like Yang's idea. I actually like them more now that COVID hit, because I was like, Yang's idea of automation just seemed way too soon. It's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to now. I was like, this guy's talking about what's going to happen in 10, 20 years. Now I'm like, fuck, this might happen in 5 fucking years after COVID. I don't know how quick automation is going to go into place because of everything that just occurred. So yeah, I'm down with most of what Yang is offering. But I still want, a better support system across the board. So I'm a mixture of Yang and Sanders together.
Actually, the state of California, I think, was the first one to legalize medical marijuana. Washington State and Colorado were the first to legalize it for recreational use.
Correct. Yeah.
So maybe remember when California completely got their shit together, and I think it was in 2016, and they just started kicking ass over there. Like, they just started to take over. Progressives started to fucking kick ass in California, as far as I remember. And I wonder if that was prior to 2016. But I remember 2016 was a year that fucking California got taken over by progressives, and maybe that's again why everybody's fucking moving out of there, because it's getting too progressive. I don't know, but that's interesting. So now I have to go study to see how that all. What year was that when California sort of pushed the legalization of marijuana, and why? Why did it occur? Let's play another ditty.
I take the libertarian view at drugs, which is legalize all of the drugs. Let people do whatever they want. It's their choices.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? So this goes back to your point, Curtis, right? So there's meeting grounds, there's a meeting place, or there's a thread for all of it. Like, we can agree on so many things, and you're saying that these words separate a progressive and a libertarian when it doesn't have to.
Absolutely.
Go
ahead. Yeah. Seriously, I mean, I get it for clickbait type things. Libertarian speaks to progressive. I get marketing. Okay. But what I'm saying is, are you now saying all libertarians think alike and all progressives think alike? No, obviously. No one's ever going to argue that. So why are we putting this group against one group when it has zero meaning? This particular libertarian might have a lot more middle ground than someone else. So we really just need to go, hey, guess what we're going to talk about today? What are we going to talk about today? How do we provide coverage for Americans? And guess what? I don't care what the fuck your job title is or what group you're in. In fact, knowing, this is my solution. In fact, knowing makes it more difficult. I don't want to know. Maybe at the end, reveal that you're a billionaire. Maybe at the end, reveal that you're a working class citizen just trying to get by every week. Okay? Because I want to pay attention to what you say so I can learn your true opinion and see where it comes from, yada, yada, yada. And then maybe at the surprise, turn it to a game show. And guess what? I'm a billionaire, but guess what? I donate, 40 million every year to these causes. But I have some problems with some of the taxes here. There's so much gray in everything. Knowing someone's nonsense group just ruins everything. I have to climb my way out as soon as I walk in the door. Here comes another black guy. What's he going to say? Well, you don't know what I'm going to say. So just, how about we go on stereo so you don't see me, and then we can start having an open exchange of ideas. The whole fact of stereo is what I'm
and
talking about.
maybe take the avatar completely away. Maybe fucking just to have nothing there. Have like a fucking like just a shape or something.
Yeah. I agree
with him. Legalize all drugs. Also legalize sex work, which is something that Bernie probably would have a serious issue. So there are some things. That I have some libertarian in me. I definitely agree with legalizing all drugs, and I also think that we need to really legalize sex work in a safe manner. Let's play a message.
No, it's not bullshit. Like Ayn Rand would say, we shouldn't have these restrictions on zip codes to people being in school. They should be able to go to school where they please, and then if a community cannot afford or maintain their schooling system, then the next best community, basically will take them in, because education should be community-based, right? That's the way it is now anyways, but it's also community restrictive. So, like, I can't go to the next zip code and go to school, but it's like, well, why not? I should have that right. You know what I mean? Additionally, as a libertarian, you could be for universal health care, while also, as long as they also maintain a system of individual healthcare. So, like, if the government doesn't trample on my right to have healthcare privately, then it's fine, because I maintain my right to have healthcare privately. But, like I said, the system should do where the individual cannot.
Okay, yeah, but see, he should say all that and take out Ayn Rand and libertarian. Seriously. I'm serious, because you're only listening to what he's saying. But people will shut down as soon as he starts talking about Rand McNally and the Liberty Bell, right? They're like, what are you talking about? Who are you? So, because a lot of what he's saying, people might attach on and pay attention and go, well, except for that one part. But yeah, I think education should be community-based. But they're not listening to any of that. As soon as he comes out and starts talking about Rand and libertarian, I don't want to hear that. That's what they're thinking. What are you talking about? So, this is my point. It's not semantics. It's the whole, we are creating our own wall. Because people have already picked sides. So why are you going to come up and say, guess what? I'm not on your side, but hear me anyway. No. Just start off with, hey, do you guys believe in community-based education? Okay, boom, in. Got them for an hour. And then you can discuss your differences.
But that's what was
going like Scientology and The Secret. It was like, what is this? Some magical
Well,
thing?
also, if you study the way she really spoke, she was to me, she's very off-putting. But so anyway, Bernie Sanders,
of course.
again,
But people don't know
Bernie
that.
Sanders,
The guy in the urban city doesn't know any of this.
Bernie Sanders 2016, coalesce, help the poor, tell you how the system really is run, and then Trump sort of stole that, right? He drained the swamp. He made it into these fucking propaganda, and people hate it, but I'm sorry, he was the orange Hitler. He made it into this Hitler-esque, things that they could grasp onto, drain the swamp. I remember build the wall. He made it into things that they could grasp onto, while Bernie was like, no, you don't understand. The whole fucking system's got to come down. We have to fucking stop lobby. Like, he was trying to be a little bit more complex, while he was, going after trigger, and it worked. It absolutely worked. But Bernie was trying to help educate everybody. The fucking system is flawed. We need to change it. And this person is not going to change it. Hillary Clinton, unfortunately, I'm sorry.
People have to. No, people need to start making a better distinction with these labels for saying like Bernie is centrist or Bernie. There's a difference, and this is something I think everyone would agree with. So I'm not just ranting about labels and everyone's, turned off. I'm saying when you call a Bernie Sanders centrist, no one really knows what you're saying, because they do not make a distinction between, is this his underlying true belief system? And is he playing, or is he just playing the game as a centrist? And they might have even the same outcome. But really, if someone has a different belief system and they're playing sort of a centrist game, the outcome, or the goal, I should say, of the outcome is going to be different. In the same way that my friend in real life, this is not bullshit, is running around, or was running around going, I'm a progressive, but really her end game was always Republican sided, right, conservative actions. So it doesn't matter, but there's a difference between what someone says and what someone is, what someone does. Again, like a priest who wants to save people's souls, but he just really wants to get rich. We see this everywhere. We know this at our utter core, and yet we cannot distinguish between, oh, well, Bernie's acting centrist among a pool of centrists trying to get shit done and playing their game and trying to push things forward, then he's actually like a Hillary Clinton who really wants, I want to go to war first week of office just so I can show I can play the man's game. There's a difference between Bernie and Hillary.
The other thing about libertarians, again, when they bring up Yang, it's like Yang, Yang is for UBI, right? I'm shocked that you'd be for UBI, and fuck, if you're for UBI, let's get that fucking UBI, Universal Basic Income. Let's get that fucking kicking right now, libertarian. I don't know how that's a libertarian viewpoint, but let me play another message. You only have 2 left. They're probably very old at this point.
Like basically, Ayn Rand was the model of objectivism, which is the practice of, it's like extreme logic and practicalism. So, like, you can say that, well, people should be able to do healthcare by themselves, and that's true, they should. So you should keep a system of individual healthcare. But at the same time, the lower class cannot, because they can't afford it. And you don't want to put healthcare into a anarcho-capitalistic state where only businesses own healthcare, because that has the power to become monopolized. But if the government could have some type of base function for healthcare where people can't provide for themselves, i.e. the mentally ill, the extreme impoverished, like people who are proven to be disenfranchised by the healthcare system, then arguably it would be okay as long as they also maintain the individualistic system of healthcare by allowing me to have private healthcare.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda. I mean, we should have world peace. Look, if I should be able to go to Russia and say, look, I'm from the United States. I really want to see what you guys are doing. Let's have an open exchange of ideas and dialogue, and really let's get to the nitty gritty of this and talk about ballistics. And I should, but no, I'm a fucking American spy going over to Russia and secretly infiltrating your organization so I can see what the fuck you people are doing. Okay, Bernie could do that. This is what I'm saying. We should be able to provide for our own health care, take care of our own health care. Okay, but that doesn't work in this reality. Why? Because there's an active force preventing you from doing that. That makes no sense. It's batshit crazy. Well, that sounds like conspiracy. No, it's not. Why do we have health care? Anyone in the world. Why do we have health care tied to work, to your employment? It makes no sense. It makes no sense. It makes sense to us because it's always been that way. You go to some other country, they are, so deeply confused. Like, what? Oh, yeah. We get our health care from whatever job. The job pays for it. And they cannot wrap their head around it because we are such a capitalistic society. And here's one of those words like Rand and narco, capitalistic. These words have no meaning to the average person, but it just simply means rich people control everything to benefit themselves and trick the little people that if you work hard, you can get your own health care and everything else. Because if you work hard, what we really mean by that is if you work for us and you literally you're born and then you die just sacrificing everything for us, we'll give you a little something. So, I mean, these words, capitalism, it doesn't resonate. Don't you realize you are put on this earth to sell your soul, your life, your happiness, and everything for a corporation so that they can continue that family's long reigning power? It's that simple. It's that simple. And that's something people can understand. They go, I get that. And then you show them all these other countries that will pay for a 13th month out of the year just for vacation. Because they go, the first 12 is just for you to pay your bills and get through the day. But that 13th month, we will pay whatever your salary is for that last month and go spend it. That's for you to be happy. Because we know based on science, you're more productive when you're happier. You're not stressed out all the time. And we actually benefit as a society and as a company, not because it's feel good, happy. It's a win-win. Pay a little bit more in taxes. Guess what? Win-win. You get health care. You get all this stuff. You get all these things. Right? So, I mean, It's everything's fake. Okay, we know this, right? Every third actor is taking drugs and killing themselves and committing suicide and all these different things because the myth of money will make you happy is not the reality, right? So we can go deep into the woods. Everything's a myth. Everything's a myth. All right, go on, Matt.
Well, one more message.
Hey, War on Normal People is a great book by Andrew Yang. You should read it if you got Amazon. I've listened to it several times. I actually felt like him and Bernie Sanders would have made a great ticket. He basically wants to tax the robots to do the work and use that money to pay the people that are going to be out of jobs $1,200 a month, which will save all the craziness and chaos from what will happen. But yeah, all right, out of here.
I fucking love that slogan. Fucking, I love that. I'm gonna get a fucking shirt that says tax the robots. I know exactly what he's saying. So yeah, so people don't know Andrew Yang. He's saying that companies that mine for our information are not being taxed properly, and that's how all these things will be paid for. Similar to how Bernie says, tax the rich, raise slight taxes on passive income, et cetera, to pay for certain things. Not only obviously through companies that are completely paying no taxes. And then Real Progressive says we can just pay for it all through MMT, which I'm not going to bring that up. But I mean, there's ways to do this, right? So, yeah. So,
there's no conflict between MMT and all this other stuff because it goes back to shoulda. He's like, we should be able to do our own healthcare. But there's active forces preventing things like MMT. They're not doing it that way right now, and they're not going to be doing it tomorrow. So what do we do in the interim? Do we go on pause and die and wither away? Or do we chip away at things that we can for tomorrow and for next week until we reach that threshold where people start going, oh, okay, MMT, right? So there's just a difference in my ideology in terms of waiting for magic to happen and then doing things in the interim while the magic isn't there. Like vote for Biden.
But we both believe the same thing. 2016 was our one shot with Bernie Sanders. We knew that they were going to stop him. Now a pandemic shows you that people really aren't compassionate. They're not empathetic. A pandemic is not going to sway people to change their belief on universal health care or universal education. So in my mind, we're totally fucked, but I'd like to laugh and make jokes on the way there. But to think that you're going to change anything, to me, there's no way. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. But maybe you can do it on a state level, a local level. We always advise to go to your local level and try to get involved, or go work with dogs. But do something with your time. But nothing's going to change. I'm sorry, if a pandemic doesn't shift America, I know what America is, and now I even know more what America is.
It's time and age that are the great changers, the great change agents. I mean, it is. It's just because it. But you would hope
that a pandemic would speed it up, and it's not going to. So, like you said, we're still going to have to wait for any of this change to occur because it's not going to.
I see what you're saying. If it would speed it up, well, it's. I mean, speed is relative. It just what the pandemic does is it provides more education and more information for the people who will change things in the future. They're like, remember that pandemic? I mean, we don't want to experience that again. So speeding things.
Is that your doorbell? What is that background noise? What the hell is going on over there?
It's a motion activated sensor.
Oh, I see. So he's got a door. He's got a. All right. Well, we can end it. We can end it there. This is our first test broadcast. Please, anybody ever listens to this to perpetuity? We own all rights. I was just kidding. I was just thinking of
words you can't spell. That's what I want to say.
or say. I was just going to get into Unforgiven. Did you see Unforgiven? Dave Chappelle's little rant.
Yeah.
So I don't know
again. But I want to talk.
We'll do it again sometime.
Marvel Cinematic Universe.
We'll make it all right. That'll be a great topic. You'll get a lot of listeners. So we'll come back. another time. We'll come back another time. Thanks for tuning in. Then we're wrapping up. You ready to wrap up?
Yes.
So
thank you, Matt. You were great. You're a great moderator. I think you are pretty good at moderating.
Thank you, sir. I try to stop your rambling. I know what my audience wants, and they don't fucking want you.
Well, yeah,
rambling.
it's not my job to limit my ranting, because that interrupts my energy and flow. That's why I'm not offended or anything by your moderating. I'm like, good job moderating. I want people to speak passionately and then be controlled and shut down like a dictatorship. I can't.
Yeah, it's definitely, this is all skill. All these things are a skill. You definitely gotta get used to it.
When I'm the host, I shut you down all the time. That's why
that's true.
Strange. Right. But your job is to moderate. Your job is to host. Not my job to moderate myself. It's just a different role. So, but I just noticed you're doing well at it. You're doing pretty good at it. Going through the messages and everything else.
So we'll see you next time. We don't know when. We won't be able to schedule anything. So Thanks for listening, everybody. Take care.
Baba Booey.
Next time. Baba Booey.